Good morning.
Oh my God, was my like penis like right in your fucking face just now?
All I could think was, now that's worth the $5 subscription.
Exactly. I
I
wasn't
freaking loved it.
thinking. I wasn't thinking. Sorry. No, because when I started it, I was kind of dark because I'm on my balcony because my husband's a little hungover. We went out last night
Ooh.
and I irresponsibly drank way too much. And so now I feel a little nauseated this morning,
Oh
but I'll be
no.
fine. Yeah. But how are you?
I'm good. This is what happens when we record on Sunday mornings.
Right? But I'm always here for it. I love it. So I'm always down.
Yeah,
That's for
me
sure.
too.
Yeah. How was your week?
It's been a little crazy. I've been trying out some new business tactics, and
Mm.
so yeah, I'm hoping they pay off, and been trying to get into editing our videos to put like the little clips up on YouTube and put the little clips onto Instagram so
Yeah.
that people can get a little taste of us.
Yeah.
It's creepy, but
No, no, but yeah, I get what you mean. I added you. I mean, you already saw that I added one to IGTV. So I
hmm
was gonna start putting in more of those now that I have more time. Yeah.
yeah. So as I get them edited, I've been popping them up into the drive at least.
Okay.
So then that way, and I have a couple more I need to put into the drive. They're just not completely edited because I
Mm-hmm.
put them through a couple different types of editing.
Mm-hmm. Like different programs or like just different ideas.
Different programs.
Okay.
So like I'll maybe edit it down to the 4 minutes or whatever on iMovie, but
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes I'll put it in, what is it called? InShot, I think is what I use on my iPad to like add like some other layers to it or to
Okay.
fine tune the editing. I'm
Okay. Yeah, because
trying to,
iMovie is slightly limited.
it is. And I'm so used to editing on Final Cut.
Hmm.
And it's just like, come on. I like not in that industry anymore. You can't be like you can't be that person anymore. So I'm trying
Yeah.
not to be like too weird about it. And right now
Hmm.
I'm only clipping just us into
Hmm.
those little snippets, those little four
Hmm.
minute snippets, because for one, we don't actually like necessarily have everyone else's permission for that
This is
to go
true.
all over social media.
Hmm.
um until
But if they
we
agree to do the show, it's kind of given permission. So,
Right.
yeah.
And we do ask them in advance about using their video, but at the same time, just reminded me before we start this episode, let me make sure that it's not recording the nameplates.
Oh, yeah. Notice that's not there.
Oh, so it's not there for you?
No, I don't see it.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to make
I
sure
usually have
that
to like change my name as soon as I come on.
um so I wanted it to start recording without the nameplate at the bottom because then
Hmm.
it just screams we record on Zoom. And for anyone who's now watching this, now you all know. That's our
Yeah.
dirty
I'm,
little secret.
I'm gonna edit this out, of course. Yeah.
Oh,
Most of the beginning of our talk, yeah.
come on. Don't edit out the penis shot though.
Well, I guess I have to leave everything in then. Whatever. It's cool. No, I mean for the podcast, for the
Oh,
listeners.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Not for
Everything
the
else.
viewers.
Yeah, everything else is fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually editing out what I said about my mom because of your reaction to it. It's not
Sorry.
because of no, it's not because of you, but it just had me thinking like, oh my God, if she's saying this, it's like if my mom does hear it, is she going to be offended? Because my mom is, even though we talk about things, she's super sensitive, and if you had that reaction, I can imagine how she's going to react to it. So I am going to edit that part out of the show
Okay.
just to
That was
save me.
like that was like the one thing that popped into my head is what if his mom hears this?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it like that same story a few times, but after like I spent the day with her when I went to Florida, and I'm like, my relationship with my mom now is just I just have to accept her for who she is, and that's it. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to get my sister to do the same. Like I feel like even in our show, it's like what we talk about. It's like people are always trying to change someone, whether
Right.
it's for tradition or for themselves. I don't care. But we always end up in these like frictionful relationships because we're so busy trying to get them to be how we want them to be that we just can't allow them to be who they are and just take it all in. So that being said, I now see my mom as more endearing than, someone that's like out to get me, or, even if she did say the mean things she said in the past, I'm pretty sure it's said out of anger. And even if she doesn't want to talk about it now, that's fine. That's her prerogative. But I can't hold anger in my heart towards her for who she is. And I feel like a lot of us do that. We resent them for being who they are, and we're angry that they're not changing for us. And it's dumb.
It's nice that you had that epiphany.
Yeah.
Like, see, even we get something out of our own podcast.
I actually bring up our podcast quite often when I'm talking to like people now. Like,
I
yeah,
do
we talked
too.
about this in our podcast. We have episode blah blah blah. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, you should listen to it. You can learn
Mhm.
something. So I
I
like,
love when people are like, "Oh my god, I love your podcast." I'm like, "Cool, you've been listening?" "Oh no, I haven't listened yet." Then how do you know you
how do
love
you
it?
love it?
You just love the idea of it.
Yeah, which is fine. That's the start.
Yeah, but
They
then it's
say
like, "Well, now you owe me a follow and a listen for every episode."
exactly. They say it's like traditional marketing. I don't know if it's the same anymore because of social media, but in the old marketing, it would take 7 touches before someone subscribes or buys or something like that. And now it's like it feels like it's 21 or 30 or something
I
before people
know.
are like, you know what, I'll do it. Because even for me, unless I really want something, I know that I want it. If it's like a product that I'm iffy about, it probably takes a long time before I hit that buy button.
That's
And that's
so
just
true.
seeing it over and over and over and over and over. And then it's like, okay, I'll take it.
Right? Because then sometimes we also think like, "This might be a sign that I need
Mm-hmm.
this in my life."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to today's topic, kind
Like,
of
yes.
tradition.
Mm-hmm.
How tradition is changing. Um, Hopefully for the better. I think it is for some. Um, but when we talk about tradition and love, tradition of marriage, of dating, of relationships, honestly, we could probably do an episode on each.
Yeah, you're probably
But
good.
in general,
Mm-hmm.
talking about what our traditions are when we think of love, um, and what that looks like and what affects our traditions,
Mm-hmm.
our belief system, our values, also how we're raised. And I know we talked about this, I think, in the last episode, how, our family shapes how we see tradition. Our faith shapes how we see tradition, and whether or not we break from that tradition or we try to embrace it with whatever situation we're currently in. Um, and it's interesting because our I'm excited about today's episode. Our guest is a very, very dear friend of mine. Um, and part of the reason this even came up too is, I we meet for coffee. My friend Gary and I, who is our guest today, we tend to meet for coffee to do our little catch ups. And we were sitting in a coffee shop just outside of it. I don't know, this happened maybe a few months ago during the pandemic.
Okay. Brave
And
souls.
and this random stranger was in a car in front of us. We were sitting outside, and I don't even know why. I can't remember why he even started talking to us. But we're at a coffee shop. We're just two humans sitting at a table at a coffee shop having coffee. It's not like we're having a romantic meal or anything.
Mhm.
And the guy looks at him, sees that he's married, looks at me and goes, "Oh, blah, 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 something about your wife." And we look at each other and we go, Is he talking about me? He's just assuming that I'm your wife because we're sitting here having coffee. Not to mention, I was more offended, I think, than he was. But to assume that he's married to a woman is still happening.
Yeah.
We are still assuming.
That people are strayed, or you're like trying to mirror your own personal traditions on other people. So you're assuming that that's what they want too.
Yes, and he kept saying over and over again, like pointing out your wife, and
Mhm.
we just looked at each other like, and you could see
Mhm.
both of us looking at each other like, should we just correct him
Mhm.
or should we just like let it go? And it's just so much easier sometimes to not say something and not get into that conversation.
It really is.
But at the same time, if we're not correcting people and opening their eyes to what the real situation is, aren't we just falling into these old patterns, these old traditions? Aren't we just allowing them?
I don't know. I think see, I'm funny when it comes to like teaching people things. If they don't know something, I'll entertain the conversation. I feel like for me, it's a way of learning about people. Like
Mhm.
I kind of sort of had a situation like that. I was doing stand-in on this show. I forget the name of the show. It's a popular show though. And I was at a table with some of the background actors in between the takes. And this guy looks at me. I think I was wearing my wedding ring that day. I don't wear it that often now because they're always falling off. But that day I was wearing it for sure. And he says, "Oh, so you got a lady at home? How many kids you planning on having?" And I'm just sitting there like, "Oh my God, you didn't even ask me a question. You just like puked all of your traditions on me. Like I need to be married to a woman and I need to have kids." And then I said, "Oh, well, because sometimes if it's another, like, honestly, another black person I can tell is kind of Christian, I don't even want to go down the road of saying, oh, I'm gay, because then it's going to turn into a whole fucking thing. And I don't feel like that.
Mhm.
Um, so I was just like, no, 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 I don't want to have kids. You don't want to have kids? What? He said, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to have kids. He's, you wait, you're married, but you don't want to have kids. What's wrong with you? You're supposed to have children. I have at least 5 kids. And then he proceeds to tell me that he also lives in a camper on an empty lot somewhere with these kids. So I'm just like, so much for tradition. But I don't think that we should have to teach people. If someone has their tradition that they value, that's great for them. But to force it on other people is a little strange. And I don't think that it's our job, your or mine, to educate people just because they're assuming something. Laugh at them and keep it moving.
Yeah, that's true. That happens to me a lot because I'm still single.
Hmm.
I'm a little bit older. And now I get the question of, didn't you want a family? I'm
Didn't?
sorry, am I dying tomorrow?
Oh my God, how rude.
Did I not know? Am I terminally ill? Like what happened? What am I
Mm-mm.
not knowledgeable about here? Someone please tell me. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do get asked that fairly often too by
Hmm.
people all ages, but
Hmm.
you know, didn't you want to get married? Didn't you want to have children? Didn't you want a
Hmm.
family?
Hmm.
Like why is this past tense?
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't help that I feel a lot of shows kind of reinforce it in a way. Like, how many shows have you seen where the storyline is the female lead character? She's distressed because it's her 30th birthday and she's not married with kids yet. So the whole episode or the whole show or the whole season is about how her life is horrible because
Mhm.
she is not married and have kids. And I'm
Every
just like,
sitcom.
every sitcom. And I'm just like, why can't women just do what they want to do, live their life without tradition bogging them down? I mean, it's like that for men too in certain areas, but I feel like there's way more pressure on women to follow tradition and for men to uphold those weird traditions. Like, I don't want us to get
Right.
into like talk about different religions or races or cultural backgrounds, but there are religions around the world where people don't even have choices because of tradition. No choice in love, no choice in how to conduct themselves. Like, what effect does that have on your psyche and like dating if you're not even able to make the choice, you know?
Absolutely. I had a roommate a few years back that, she came from a very traditional Indian family.
Hmm.
She was here originally to go to school. She met her current boyfriend at that time while they were at school.
Hmm.
And yet, even though they were from the same area, but they were from different caste systems, so they technically shouldn't have been together and they were
Hmm.
hiding their relationship even though I don't know. I mean, this is just me, but as a parent, I'd be like, "Cool." Like for one, they're happy. Two, like
Yeah.
he's a nice Indian boy. Like shouldn't
Yeah.
that be good for tradition, but it's not good enough for some
It's
families
not.
and
It's
it's
it's funny, some families actually see marriage as like a transaction, like
yeah.
or like a business merging almost, where it's like I'm almost like, what world do we want to live in? Do we want to live in a world where all our relationships are like two companies coming together, or do we want it to
Right.
be love? Like,
Right. Dating and relationships are not transactional, and we treat them
mhm,
like that mostly. Still blame dating apps for a lot of that as well,
mhm,
because, we're trying to come out of these old traditions and kind of break away from them a little bit. But then we're getting into a new tradition of this menu choice by what
mhm,
dating apps are doing for us. You used to meet someone in person and see if you had chemistry, and they were your only focus at the time because it was the only person you were dating, unless you went
yeah,
out to the bar the next night and tried to find someone new. But that's,
mhm,
but now it's like, well, I'm not really sure about this person, so I'm just going to go on this app and swipe. So we're
yeah,
creating new traditions, but they're not healthy traditions. And
mhm.
yeah, like you said, um,
I remember dating in the past before I got married, where you go on a date with a guy, and basically, I'm giving myself away too by saying this, but you go on a date with a guy, you have a good time, and then you go home, and then you get back on the app, and you see that they're on the app too, and it's like, okay, so we both had a good time, but we're both now on this either A, checking to see if the other one is on, or B, looking for someone else. And a lot of times they were looking for someone else. So
mhm,
it's crazy how that's even become like a tradition in love. We're creating like, or the ghosting thing. It's like you hear that kind of often. It's like we're swapping out other traditions for new traditions now, and they're just as detrimental as the former traditions. So it's just, I feel like all these weird expectations that are put on love and dating are only just keeping us in this loop of insanity. I mean, what are your
mhm.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. This is
Hmm.
just, it's nice to have tradition.
Hmm.
I grew up in a very traditional Italian family in New York. And when I was a child, the idea of marrying another Italian and having, these little Italian babies and keeping all these wonderful traditions we had alive. We had such great traditions growing up, and I
Hmm.
loved it. But as I got older and experienced, I realized, you know what? I want to create new traditions, whoever I end up with.
Hmm.
Um, I want his traditions and my traditions to merge together and we create something that's new. Because getting stuck in old tradition to me is just getting stuck in a small way of thinking. And I
Yeah.
know that's a really harsh thing to say. And I'm not saying that if you appreciate your old traditions and your partner appreciates your old traditions, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that for me personally,
Hmm.
feeling stuck and saying I can only date someone who fits into this tradition,
Hmm. Or this
that doesn't work for
box
me.
or any of
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
right. I don't want to put people in a box.
Yeah.
And so that just didn't work for me personally.
Hmm.
And frankly, for a lot of people that for new clients that I get, I see that there's this fight, this internal struggle of I have this tradition, I have this obligation to my family because they really want me to end up with, you know, in a heterosexual relationship, or they really want me
Hmm.
to at least have children, or they really want me to live nearby, even if that's a tradition of your family, if everyone
Hmm.
stays in the same area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a struggle, and it's just a matter of saying, are you willing to break free from that tradition and
Hmm.
create your new
Yeah.
tradition? So
Yeah. And it takes a lot of bravery, honestly, to break away from because it's something as simple as like when gay men come out of the closet. I remember being 16, 17, and saying to myself, oh, I can never really acknowledge these feelings. I'm gonna have to find a
right.
girl, I'm gonna have to have kids one day. I have to be straight or something. And then one day I was just like, fuck it, I can't follow into this tradition. I'm seeing so many men around me who are like sad, but they were straight in these straight lives, but they were miserable. And I was like, okay, I can't be a part of that. So I feel like with tradition, I mean, we've said it before, and we're bringing Gary on to talk about it a little bit more. If you're into it, great. If you're not into it, great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on that note, let's
But,
let's
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 bring Gary
introduce
on.
our guest for today. Um, so Gary is a dear friend of mine, and as I'm letting him into this conversation right now, he he has been an amazing person to know for me personally, and I just want all of our listeners to meet him and really understand what a wonderful person he is. Gary, before we let you in, I was telling the story about when we were at the coffee shop and that guy just assumed I was your wife.
Right.
And that kind of sparked the whole conversation of, this idea of having this traditional lifestyle and just people assuming things. And
Good morning,
I don't know,
Gary.
like,
It's nice to
Good
finally
morning.
meet. Yeah, it's nice to finally meet you. We've been chatting for a while
Yeah.
before we got you on here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No
I
problem.
appreciate you taking the time to be with us.
Sure.
So go ahead, Andrea.
Let's just hit the ground running. Let's just get right into this. We want to talk to you today about breaking away from some traditions and, trying to fit into other traditions of how you were raised by your family. And you and I talked prior to us setting up the show about even how your work is affected, about
Right.
how when you have business relationships that have assumptions. Could you talk a little bit more about how
Sure.
that happens for you?
Well, as a gay man, obviously you have your initial coming out, right? Which is to your family, to whoever's in your life at the time. But then moving forward as a gay man or as a woman or whoever, you're coming out to every new person that you're meeting, right? And you're coming up against those assumptions that you are a straight man, you're wearing a wedding ring. So they're just, especially where we're living, where you and I are living, the assumption is you are a straight man. They
Mhm.
always say, oh, how long have you been married to your wife? It's never, how long have you been married to your spouse?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's an interesting thing that you have to go through in business where you're teetering on that line of, do I tell these people or do I actually lie
Mhm.
and just go with it under the assumption that they're going to take their business away from you or no longer want to do business with you because you're a gay man in 2021, which is insane to me, but
Yeah. Do you
still
get
the way.
nervous every time? Like,
Every
do you get
time.
like
Every
butterflies?
time somebody starts to like approach it, you can feel it coming usually, or you
Yeah.
see them look at your wedding ring and you're like, oh shit, this is going like, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going like, you can feel where it's going, and
Mhm.
it's always super uncomfortable, even for people that I've had as clients in my life for 5 years, 10 years. It's like, wow, we've never had this conversation. Why have we never had this conversation? It should just be a natural part of what we're talking about every day,
Yeah.
but
Why do
it's
you
not.
even need to have the conversations? The big
Right.
question. Like, you ever have situations where people's like, I didn't know you were gay. Why didn't you tell me? I'm not sleeping with you. Why do you need
Yeah.
to know?
You don't need to know. You don't need to be
Exactly.
up in my business. Yeah.
So,
So yeah, I've had that so many times. Like, wow, I never would have guessed. Well,
mhm,
you didn't need to guess. Like,
yeah.
just appreciate who I am as a person and run with it.
It's interesting you're saying this because last night I was out with my husband is in a church group. I forget what it's called, but he goes to a Catholic church. And one of the guys was out and he was saying how his brother just came out as gay. His brother's 4 years younger. There's two
Mhm.
sons. He was, obvious. Parents were like, oh, yeah, duh, we knew you were gay. But then the other one, even to this day, they're still like, oh, this is just a phase. He's too straight acting. He can't possibly be gay. So the family is still like, nah, they don't believe it. And it's so weird sometimes. It feels like if you don't fit a stereotype,
Right.
then, oh, he can't be gay. He can't, whatever the case may be. So
Right.
that being said, do you feel like you have to somehow mirror tradition in a way to make it in our world as a successful man?
I think you have to know your audience, to be honest. In my job specifically, because I'm business development, my goal is to make a relationship with somebody,
Mhm.
gain their trust, gain their um, their friendship and basically earn their business and have them trust me enough to move, which is not an easy process, move everything that they've got going on over here.
Mhm.
And so it's a risk every time. Is that going to be the one thing that makes them not want to jump into doing business with me? So it's always front of mind for me, which it shouldn't be at all. It shouldn't be. There's so many other things I could be focused on that I have to deal with to take care of this person.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's always there. It's always right there at the front of the conversation. I meet somebody and I just realized that as I'm saying this, I'm thinking like, does this person think I'm a gay man?
Um,
And I will say I have been pleasantly surprised, and I think I was telling Andrea this, that there are people that I've known for a very long time that have been my clients that I've done business with, and I've thought I'm never going to tell this person because I just feel like they're going to not know what to do with it, and then they're going to come up with some excuse,
Mhm.
whether or not they know that's the reason that they're choosing to move away. I've been surprised that I've just said in a moment of probably thoughtlessness, no, it's husband or something to indicate that I'm married to a man. And they just, there's that moment where it's like, get the head tilt and it's like, what?
Yeah, like what?
And then they kind of move past it. So
On that, since you've mentioned everything that you've gone through just with your business and the life of it, has that affected your relationship? Like before you got with your husband,
mhm.
does the tradition of what you know affect the kind of man that you ended up with? Because you know how there's some guys that are like, oh, we're both kind of mass, straight looking. So if we're out, we look
Yeah.
like we're bros, but really we go home and we have sex. Has that in a way affected your choice in your partner?
No, I don't think so. I think I kept them so separate that
Mhm.
that wasn't my thought process when I met John. We met online and it was um, I don't want to say hookup website, but it was like a gay website. And he
Which one
lived,
was it? Because I met my husband.
I
I
don't
met
even
my
know that
husband.
it exists anymore. It was called Bear 411. I don't know if it's a
I've
thing.
heard of that. Okay.
Okay.
I met my
So,
husband on Scruff. We were
okay.
friends for
Yeah.
like yeah. But go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, but John lived so far away, and it was well, I can't really take you all that seriously. And
Mhm.
he said, if I show up tomorrow, you have to take me seriously. And I said, okay. And he did. And then every weekend since he came down, and then rest is history. 13 years later.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
He
such
is
a
amazing.
romantic story, really.
it is romantic.
Yeah.
It's almost like the stories of I I mean, basically, it sounds like you were friends before you actually met. If you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
We talked, we talked all night that night, but yeah, he came down and we just kind of spent a couple days together and then he'd go back. And so it wasn't like the insta-gay relationship where you're
Mhm.
moving in 5 minutes and then you
Yeah,
figure out, oh shit, I can't live with this person.
exactly. We've had a lot of those.
Yeah,
It's like, and do you feel free with him? Because I know if tradition is like the standards that tradition puts on our lives and our work lives and our professional lives or whatever, can be overwhelming, having to live up to them. Is he your safety in a way?
yeah. He's my he's everything. He's my savior, my vacation when I leave work. He's so wonderful to come home to that yeah, he gives me everything I need aside from that. And he doesn't avoid going to work with me. So like if I have a work function, which my job has a lot of, he goes with me and he does get introduced as my husband. Um, and I think as I've gotten further into my career, it used to be, oh, I'm going to this event. And if there was like one big event, then John would go to that where there's like hundreds of people and nobody's really paying attention to who's with you.
Mhm.
But now he goes to everything I asked him to go to. And at this point, I'm like, if you don't want to do business with me, then sorry.
Mm, that's pretty good. You got pretty
Guess that's
lucky there.
age.
And wisdom and just knowing and being comfortable with yourself and knowing that your
Yeah.
partner is there for you.
Yeah, I learned, I mean, so when I was younger, a teenager, I was terrified of it. And then when I was 17, I got bashed by these kids in my high school and I almost died. Andrea, I don't even know if I've told you this.
You have. I didn't know if you were going to be comfortable
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about this, but yeah.
I mean, it's made me who I am. So I was walking home I had gone to a wedding in the morning with my family, and then my sister dropped me off at Walmart to grab something to drink. And then I was going to walk home, which was only like a couple blocks away. These guys happened to be there and they saw me there. And then there was like a little alley behind the buildings where they were waiting for me, knowing that I would walk that direction. And then they hit me over the head with a crowbar. And yeah, my sister found me walking down the street, covered in blood. My teeth were knocked out. I don't remember the day. I've gotten little pieces of the story from everybody, but I think that moment made me who I am and made me less afraid, which I realized it could have done the complete opposite and made me go into myself and not tell anybody anything. But no, it made me stronger, made me less afraid, and made me want to be authentically me.
Yeah.
I definitely commend you for being able to see that it made you stronger instead of, I mean, it absolutely could have made you hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
become another straight man in a relationship with kids
Yeah.
and a wife who's creeping behind his wife.
Right. And I know a lot of those people.
I
And
do
it's,
too.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is. And
Yeah.
some of them get to say, that's why we're living in the state of California. And right now, someone who is trans and very famous is running for office.
Ugh.
And while we have our feelings about her, I always say, damn, to go through all of that traditional white maleness and at the end of it say, fuck it, this is who I am. That takes a lot of guts because you really only have one life. And so many of us are knee deep, sometimes neck deep in tradition that we can't even make a life for ourselves. We can't even find a little sense of freedom. And because of that, we have poor relationships, superficial relationships, unfulfilling relationships. And I feel like you have to have the courage to be yourself. And as terrible as that gay bashing was, it introduced you to yourself and says, hey, this is
Right.
Gary, get to it. This is who you
Right.
are. Find out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an interesting, you bringing that up, the person that is running for office, because I feel like the issue that I have with that is, yes, they are very brave for doing what they're doing, but also your experience has not been what every other trans person has had to go through in your life. I mean, you're literally a superstar, right? You have all the money on the planet and you can easily make the transition and have an instant family because people want to be with a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So while yes, I agree that it is very brave to be on that stage as a trans person.
Or just any gay man that has spent the entire, that's just the first person I thought of, but there's plenty of gay men out here. Like one of my exes, he's dead now, unfortunately. I think he was only out of the closet for maybe 10, 15 years before he died, but he had a wife, he had a daughter. Even my first lover, he was a preacher in Dominican Republic for majority of his life, had 2 teenage boys, an ex-wife who was crazy. But both of these men were so happy once they broke away from that. Like the second is now in Panama with his partner of like fucking, I think a decade or more now, the happiest he's ever been. And he looks extremely happy. And the other guy, he died, but he was rushing. I don't know if you've noticed this. Have you been places where there's older gay men that have just come out maybe in the last 10, 15 years, and it seems like they're trying to make up for lost time?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like we're all playing that game. aside from the fact that we're all just big hoes, it's
Well,
I feel like, well, and I feel like that's a natural. I blame testosterone for.
do you feel like that's a tradition of being gay in a way? Because I feel like when I
Oh,
came out,
100%.
yeah, when I came out as gay, or even when I first started to realize it, the first thing I saw was porn. And I learned about relationships through porn, or I learned about relationships through like the C-list cinema that was being put out every so often.
Right.
There wasn't a lot of books, and if there was books, it was either about AIDS or it was about I don't know how to jam something up your butt. Yeah, we have birds out here. It's like I live by a
There's one
area.
right by my window too.
Yeah, it's
I don't know whose it is, but I can hear someone's like a bird chirping.
yeah, it's me. I'll probably get that out. Yeah, because it's like I have like hawks back here, coyotes. It's like it's insane. But yeah, do you like so you do feel sex is a tradition of being gay and coming
Yeah.
out?
And I think that probably came from, well, I don't want to say it started in the 70s, but I feel like when we had the 70s revolution of everybody coming out and
Mm,
being loud and proud, it turned into that. And it's, I can't, there's no, I mean, I guess there's documented trail of where we came from back in the day, but
mhm,
it wasn't so focused on that. And
mhm,
I think where it picks up for us is in the 70s, right? When there was the sexual revolution, and then when everybody was just out and it was safer to do it in like San Francisco and New York City. And um, you watch movies like Paris is Burning and all of these things where it's just everybody was very free with each other.
mhm.
And I guess we assumed since we couldn't get knocked up, it was like why wouldn't I be having sex with everybody?
Exactly.
And then here come the 80s, and
Mhm,
we know that's probably not the smartest thing to do.
mhm.
But the interesting part of that is it's still happening nonstop with,
To this day,
yeah,
yeah,
with every other thing that's flying around out there. You can
yeah.
still, so
I, I mean, I know that straight people. Andre, we're gonna say something.
Well, I wanted to ask him about I want you to backtrack a little bit on your history line there with your husband before you got married. And I was hoping that you could talk a little bit about your beliefs around tradition going into this marriage. Did you
mhm.
share similar beliefs? Did you have, similar traditions that you wanted to fulfill? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we did. I think we both were very similar in that aspect. So it was John came from a very religious background.
Mhm,
He grew up in the church, and he was a youth pastor for some time, and then had his whole experience there, which I won't talk about because that's his experience.
mhm,
But so yes, he came up very traditional. And when I met him, his parents, well, his whole family as a whole was still in the midst of having issues with who he was. They hadn't quite dealt with it. And so we met, and there was a lot of resistance by his family when I came around in the beginning. And then it quickly melted away because I think they realized I wasn't going anywhere. And
mhm,
um, I don't know if that was their realization that, oh, there are good people that just are gay people.
mhm,
Um, and I think that's the experience for a lot of people, is that you don't know until you know somebody, right?
mhm.
You have this whole picture in your head, and then you realize, oh, my best friend's gay, or whatever it is. So yes, we both had very traditional goals in mind. We both wanted to get married and be married to that person, and um, not really have the traditional gay marriage, which is okay, you can still go sleep with everybody and their grandma, but just come home at night.
That is so common now. It's almost. Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's very interesting that, and you know what? I'm not, if whatever works, works. If
Yeah.
that's, and Andre and I were talking about this, like, why is it such a an issue in the gay community when straight people have been swingers for how long?
Exactly. I
Are they
remember watching.
better at keeping that secret? I don't.
It's interesting because I remember when I was younger, I used to watch Real Sex on HBO, and it was an older show in the 90s. And almost everything was about like these straight swingers
Right.
places. So it's like it's so funny how gay people have we have this badge of honor of, oh, we're the sex oriented, I don't know what you would consider it. Where straight it's weird, but it's like everybody has a really good PR person. I feel like sometimes it's like no one ever talks about straight swing. We were in Palm Springs a few weekends ago, and there's actually a place there called All Worlds, and it's for straight swingers. It's like a theme park basically for straight couples to go, and with mazes and stuff and jacuzzis where they can like couple up and meet with other people. I'm like watching like uh, uh, pairs of straight couples walking in. You can tell what they're about to do, and they're just so free and loving with each other. So like a lot of PDA, and it's
Yeah.
very interesting when you see stuff like that goes against tradition, and people find happiness in it. So it has me thinking, like Andre and I were talking about before you came on, that tradition is okay as long as you're okay with it, and I feel
Right.
like a lot of times people force it on. Have you ever felt outside of work or in your marriage that tradition is still being forced on you?
Oh yeah.
And like in
Always.
what ways?
I feel like it's just like I said before, it's the assumption. It's
The
just
assumptions. Okay.
people have been programmed to think that this is what marriage looks like, and it should fit in this box. And instead, it should be, this is our marriage, and we're going to set it up the way that works for us, right? But you're then dealing with a million people that have the assumption that it should be this way. And I think that's probably one of the biggest issues in the world, is that we put our beliefs, or we put our box onto somebody else. Keep your box in your box. Like
Exactly.
why do you have to put it on somebody else? What my relationship is not your relationship. It's never going to be your relationship. So I think this, that goes back to like when you're coming out to somebody and they realize you're a gay person. I think they initially think, oh, this guy probably screws everybody in town, instead of instantly going to, oh, he's married and he has a husband and he's, so I think that's true for anything, not just in gay straight relationships. It's just everything is the way we were taught, and then you make the assumption that that person should be doing it the same way.
They're falling back into old stereotypes.
Right.
So they're assuming that's the norm.
Yeah. It's almost not to make light of your situation. When you were 17, the kids that beat you up, they are so married to whatever tradition that they had in their mind.
Right.
Saw you and was enraged. And honestly, they could have all probably been gay men.
Well, and that's the thing. Like it comes from jealousy, right? Like, oh, I see this person living their best life. Why are they allowed
I love
to do
that.
that?
Yeah.
Why are why do you hate somebody that has the courage to just be who their authentic self is?
Exactly. And I was telling my sister that, like, when I was talking to her, I said, the best life will come from you just being yourself and being happy, whatever that is, whatever that is, just be happy. And then through that, I feel like you find marriage, you find healthy relationships, you find your family, your friends, the career, everything just falls into place. As long as we're like, no, you need to do it my way, or I need to fit into this box so I can have success.
Well, and it's worrying about what everybody else thinks of you, right? That's what holds anybody back is, oh no, what are they going to think of me doing this? The second you start or stop caring about anybody else, or not caring about anybody else, but what anybody else thinks of you, that's freedom. That's it.
Absolutely. You're living your true authentic self. You're going to find a partner that fits that.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Do you find that your family ever tries to push some of their traditions on you? Like kids, for example, have they tried to push the idea of like, why aren't you guys children? Because it's traditional to like
That's happening a lot to gay couples now. Yeah.
It is, yeah. Which, as it's becoming more, it seems like more socially acceptable,
Mhm.
gay marriage, now that we've had it for a while. Now it's, well, why aren't you having children? And it's like, well, why are you preventing me from having children? But that's a whole other
That's a
podcast that we can talk
whole.
about. So yes, I think there's my family. No, I think they just want us to be happy, and they want us to do whatever we want to do. And we had a foster child with us for almost a year,
Mhm.
and so we were going that route. We both wanted to be dads, and I always told John, like, if I get to 40, that's it. I don't want to be an old dad. I want to be able to be young and have fun with my kids, and not struggle to keep up with them. But then we had the foster kid for about a year, and that was so hard on us that when we got out of that situation, there was some mourning period where we just had to recover from that experience. And then as it got further on, we just realized that maybe we love being us more than we loved expanding our family, if that makes sense. We loved to travel. We loved to just pick up and go away for the weekend. And, we do have our pup, and that's our kiddo. And I think that's hard enough for us. I mean, that's, having to find somebody to watch the dog, or somebody to board him, or whatever. So in essence, we do have a kiddo, but I just think human kiddos it wasn't our thing. But John's side of the family, his dad, I think, is more so inclined to like push those traditions on us and want grandkids, and it's just not us.
Yeah.
It's not our thing.
It's like, disregard your happiness. Just bring me some kids. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah. Are there any traditions you kind of wish you could partake in? Because I know, like my husband and his group, they're Catholic, and Catholic stuff is just over the top beautiful, and there is a desire for the gay Catholic people to want to get married in church. Are there any traditions like that you kind of wish you can will come around for gay people?
I mean, I would like to see. We were going to the Methodist church for a long time, with John having his very religious background. When we moved back up here, it was one of my goals to find somewhere that was welcoming, and which I hate to say, because everywhere should be welcoming, but that's the conversation you have to have. Does your church accept gay people?
Yeah.
So we did find, when we lived in Anaheim, we found a great place, and that assistant pastor ended up marrying us against the will of the church. He put himself on the line and kind of did it in secret until he was leaving that church and moving on to something else. And then he did like a goodbye slideshow, and the last picture that popped up was the three of us at our wedding.
Oh, in the church.
You could kind of hear the mumble
mumble
in the church. Yeah, it was pretty great. But then when we moved up here, we found a church in Atascadero that was very welcoming. But then the whole thing happened with the Methodist Church, where they want this side of the church, which is the American side, wants to be able to marry LGBT in their church. And the traditional side, which is the rest of it all over the world, does not. So that's that I wish we could do. I wish anybody could get married. If they're a person of faith, you should be able to get married in a place that is your safe place, and in a place where you feel like you've found home and you have family, and shouldn't matter who you're marrying.
Yeah.
You've been there, you're doing, that's your foundation. So why is it?
I agree. It like knowing that religion is still kind of coming out of the closet themselves, right? It would, it'd be beautiful to see them just embrace that a marriage is just between two souls.
Yeah. Just embrace love. How about that?
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what color they are. It doesn't matter what orientation they identify as. It doesn't matter. It's just two souls being merged together.
Right. It's so hard for people to find love in the first place.
Exactly.
I'm sure Andrea will testify to.
Seriously.
why aren't we just celebrating it? Why isn't it just great? You
Yeah.
found the person you want to spend your life with.
That should be the new tradition.
Just
Yeah.
find who makes you happy. And I love seeing like unusual couples, because I'm like, you know how hard it is to find someone, and you see these couples that they found each other. That is wonderful. Like some people I know has such high standards of the person they're gonna, oh, he has to be Black. I am not gonna end up with nobody unless they're, I'm just like, you need to be open to love. Like if you're stuck in the tradition of like, oh, we have to have, and this is just one example, we have to have the Black on Black powerful couple. You're limiting yourself to a tradition that's not allowing you to see love for love. You're still looking at it as through a superficial lens.
Right.
So I
Right.
think if you want the tradition, want it for like good reasons, like want it because it does make you feel enriched. It does make you feel good. It does make you feel like it makes you feel alive. But if you're only doing it for superficial reasons, or
Right.
because mom and dad is expecting A, B, and C, you're going to end up just in a life that just you don't feel fulfilled in at all.
Right. Which is super prominent in the gay community. It's all about
Mhm.
physical appearance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna die. That's gonna go
Exactly.
away in like 10 years. So
And then,
Yeah.
and then,
if you don't like that person that's behind all the muscles or whatever, or
mhm,
that person
Absolutely.
is just a douchebag to begin with, then
mhm.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
No.
It's like that's a new tradition in a way for the
Yeah.
gay community, or even like a lot of millennials in a way where it's like you look good on paper, so let's be together. And as soon as you don't look good on paper or look good in person,
Mhm.
on to the next.
Moving on.
Mhm.
Yeah. What advice would you get? Were you going to say something, Andrea?
No. Did you have another question for him?
Just one more question.
All right.
For based on your life now, back and when you were a teenager, for young people who are dealing with tradition and they're dating and trying to get out there and find the best life for themselves, what is the best piece of advice based on your life experience that you would give to a young man, female, gender non-binary, about navigating life and love with tradition?
I think the best thing that somebody can do is find their family, and that may not be their actual family.
Mm.
Find your chosen family. Surround yourself with people that love the authentic person. And when you do that, which I didn't get to do until I was much, much older,
Mhm.
then everything else comes so much easier. When you have that support system that you know you can say anything to, let anything out, and they're going to be there no matter what, then you get to be everything that you want to be. You can make bad choices and they're going to give you shit for it, but they're
Mhm.
still going to love you. It's not like worrying that, oh, I'm gonna offend my parents, or I'm going to upset them and they're not going to talk to me for a year. And I think this is the biggest blessing that we have in the gay community, is that we get to surround ourselves with this chosen family
Mhm.
that becomes our family, and they're usually with you for 20 years to come. And
Mhm.
I think when you have that, and the sooner you find it, is when you're going to be able to just live your best life.
Mhm. I
Beautifully
agree.
said.
Yeah.
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 So I want to bring this to our listeners and kind of leave them with this thought of, when you think of tradition and the reason why you're getting into the relationship that you're in, I want you to really think about why you're choosing the traditions that you are. Is it because your parents did and that's just what all you know? Or are these traditions deep rooted in you and mean something to you? You know, the tradition of getting married, the tradition of having a family, the tradition of who you choose, the tradition of the faith that you choose together, the tradition of the beliefs that you're going to follow. I mean, it just goes on and on. But
Mhm.
really just think about the traditions that you're upholding and why you're choosing to uphold those, and how much weight do those really hold now for you, especially now that we're moving forward. It's 2021. We're trying to be more open-minded. Like, really think about why you have those traditions
Mhm.
and um, why you're really stuck in those traditions. But Gary, thank you for
Yes. Thank
sharing
you, Gary.
everything
Yeah.
today. It
Thanks
was
for having me.
wonderful to have you.
Yes.
Thank you
Um,
very much. Anytime.
and I will be seeing you soon.
Yes, it was nice finally. Well, I love how these days most of us
Yeah.
are Zoom meeting people,
Right.
and then yeah,
Mhm.
crazy. Oh, just to remind listeners, if you have any questions or thoughts you'd love to send our way, please send them over to datesmartersexier@gmail.com. Our DMs are always open. And if you are interested in watching our shows instead of just listening for free at your favorite podcast streaming service, you can subscribe to our video channel at patreon.com/datesmartersexier. And there you can watch full episodes as well as behind the scene episodes, special videos produced by our wonderful dating and relationship coach, Andrea LaRosa, as well as future episodes up to 4 or 5 episodes at a time that are not released to the public as of yet. So thank you for listening today. Back to you, Andrea.
Thank you again, Gary, for being here. And until next time.
Thanks, guys.
So I think that went really well.
I think
I
so.
love this episode.
Sorry, the bird chirping thing was throwing me off. It sounded like a smoke detector going off. And I was like, oh my God, I wonder if our listeners are going to want to pull their hair out over that.
I'm going to try to get the sound out. I mean, this is a new location for me today. So hopefully I can, I should be able to get it out. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that went well.
I agree. It's
Sometimes
fun.
talking about religion and how small-minded it is, I have to be really careful because I know that a lot of our listeners are probably religious, but I have so many thoughts about it that I'm just like, these are your personal thoughts. Don't bring them up.
No, that's why people are listening to us. They want to
That's
hear your
true.
personal thoughts, regardless of what those are. I mean, we're not here to offend anyone.
No.
And if you listen to our show, you know that's not our intention.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it is not.
Yeah.
We try to, talk it's for the general,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I bring up advice, it's in general.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, we had our episode with Nicole, and that was pretty, we got pretty deep in some parts of that show when it came to talking about faith and whatnot. Do you still, are you still, do you have still have a strong faith, Gary?
Yeah, I do. I think we both do. And we just haven't found, after we were at the church that we were at for a while, the pastor left, and then they brought in this guy that was
Yeah.
So we haven't found anywhere that we really love. So we just kind of do our own thing.
Yeah. It's interesting with churches for gay men because he goes to St. Monica's and they love it. I think a third of the church is gay from what they say. But now they're all worried because the Monsignor, I don't know what they call him, he's aging out. So he'll be leaving soon. And now they're nervous that they might bring in someone new who's going to be a little bit more conservative and nix the whole gay program. And then they're back being, in the shadows again.
Right. See, and that's my biggest struggle is that you're going to a church that still doesn't support you. That building, that group of people does.
Yeah.
But the church that you're worshiping to does not.
Yeah, I find that tricky too, but.
Yeah, and it's tough because what are you going to do? If you leave the church, they're never going to learn. Right. You're just reinforcing that their old beliefs are fine. They can have them. And they're never going to expand their thinking or learn new traditions, right?
Well, that's where it takes the pastor coming in and doing their thing and saying no, this is the way it should be. But then they always shift around, and that's part of their gig. So it's a crapshoot every 5 to whatever 8 years that the next person that comes in is just going to be a major asshole and have uber traditional values.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mission here, the priests that are there, I think there's 3 or 4 priests at the mission here. Father Kelly is the one who really pushes for sermons to use different language. So instead of everything being of man, he says of people. And so he's trying to, change some of their traditions. But like you said, if he wasn't there, or if he ever leaves and decides to finally retire, what's going to happen? Is someone going to take over that tradition and be open, or are they going to be that conservative Catholic Church again that they used to be?
Right. And we
It's
do
not-
have, there is a church in Slow that has a gay pastor.
Mhm.
I don't know if I don't know if he's openly gay to his parishioners. I think he is.
I think so too.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
Then,
if you guys are thinking it, it's probably true. I mean,
well, I mean, I've seen him on Grindr, so I know he's
Oh.
I know but he doesn't have his photo up on, so that's why I'm like, well, is it because you're not allowed to have sex or you're not open? I think he is out. I think
I
he's
thought
open.
he was. He
I think so,
seems
too.
like he is.
wait, how
Yeah,
did you know he
but-
was on Grindr? It's
He sent me a picture once we were talking for quite a while,
Oh.
because I'm on everything. I just like to talk to people. So,
Wait, do you guys have a non-traditional marriage where we were talking about earlier where that's why I was saying it feels like everyone, because my husband and I mean,
yeah,
it's like
we
every gay couple, I don't know any gay couples, honestly, that are
Yeah.
not.
we have our, yeah.
Okay.
But I just didn't want to, because I don't know how comfortable John is with me talking about it. So that's why I
Okay,
was
yeah,
like
that's
tap
understandable.
dancing.
Well, this isn't going to be in the episode for sure. Yeah.
We'll cut this out.
Yeah. But okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do our own thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just like, I like knowing who's around, and
Mhm.
but yeah, so we've been friends now for quite a while, and he's a really sweet guy,
Mhm.
but I know he's very scared to meet guys because he's just, I guess he's not supposed to have sex. I don't know.
That's also his status in the community.
Yeah.
Right.
And you don't want people talking, gay people
Right.
talk. So I said,
Right.
"Ooh, I had the priest at the church, and let me tell you."
Right.
And this is a small community,
Yeah.
and everybody
Well, it's the same
knows him.
thing- It's the same thing with like people keep prodding me to run for office, and I'm like, there are dick pics everywhere. So if I run for office, that's coming out.
I mean,
So
you could
I
deny
feel
it
like I'd have to be
unless
full
you have like a
disclosure.
tattoo in that area that people are like, "Oh yeah, that's him." I mean,
Yeah.
Well, and as long as it's a nice dick, so
I mean, yeah. I mean, it
I'm just
doesn't-
going to be the candidate.
not
that's
going to
like,
do
"Look,
damage to your career, that's for sure.
There's dick everywhere. Just be ready. It's coming out.
it seems like such a stupid thing for politics anyways. Like, who
I know.
cares?
Why is that such a shocker?
I know. Well, that's that tradition.
Mhm.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think in the future, though, that's going to be a little bit different. I think because so many younger people are sending naked pictures to one at one point, people are just not, it's going to be like, okay, and
Yeah.
like at one point you'd see these videos and be like, oh my God, Paris Hilton did what? But now
Yeah.
these things come out and you're like, oh, okay,
You don't
whatever.
care.
Well, now everybody's an OnlyFans star, right? So it's like
Mhm.
now
Your
everybody can be a porn
friends, now
star.
you're seeing your friends doing
Right.
things to themselves. And it's like, this is my career. I'm like, okay.
Do you, boo? Do you, boo?
That's
Mhm.
cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely in the future, I think there's gonna be a lot more politicians and public figures where you like dig up. I mean, our last president gave us a first lady where you can see pictures of her with her tits and her cooch out. I'm just like,
Yeah.
yo, that's where we're at now.
Yeah.
We've crossed
Big
the
step forward.
threshold.
Big
Yeah.
step forward.
Yeah, huge, as you would say. It's like, well, this is great today. I really appreciate you coming on the chat with us. I had a lot of fun
Yeah.
talking to you.
I did too. Thank you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, thank you. I guess you two will be seeing each other soon.
Probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
No
have to do another, drink night at Giuseppe's.
Yeah.
Ooh, Giuseppe's, I like that
Flatliners.
place.
Yes, Flatliners.
4
That's what I was
o'clock.
trying to think of. I was like, can't remember
Yeah.
what they're called. Not enough coffee yet.
Your tea dog. I love it.
It's the biggest cup I own in the
Yeah.
house. It's enormous.
I almost, when we were talking about something, and I can't remember what it was, I almost started talking about Janetsky, and I was like, if he listens to this, he's going to be so
He
pissed.
doesn't listen to me.
Yeah.
He doesn't listen to me when I give him advice. He's not going to
I
listen to
know.
me like this.
I know.
Jeanette, is that a person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The mutual friend that we're definitely cutting all this out.
Yeah.
Just
Well, this is all
doesn't get
after
it.
show stuff anyway. I don't even know if we've decided on what we're using for after shows yet, but I want to use a part of this conversation because there's a little chunk in there where we're talking about tradition that seems pretty good.
Yeah, the churches and all of that. We'll use
Yeah,
all of that, but we'll
yeah.
cut out when we start, especially when we start talking about the local priest that we know that,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
just in case,
All
Yeah.
of that would be
because
good.
everyone will know who he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. They were
Yes,
like,
they will.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. I love gossip sometimes like that. A small town gossip is just it's too much.
is. Yeah.
I try to stay away from it these days.
I think small town gossip or just small like the major difference I do say between our parents and their parents and us is most people came from small towns. Like in a sense, so even if it was a big city, it was still small because you were only really exposed to those like that are really a 30-mile
Right.
radius of you.
Right.
Whereas
Community.
now we're like exposed to people states away, and we have more access to people than ever before. So it's like tradition is slowly going out the window. I'm sorry. The more exposed we become to different kinds of people and different religions and different races and different genders, tradition is going to be like, so old school that
Yeah.
people are going to be like, why are you still doing that? Like
Yeah.
I'm legit. I feel like we're watching the timeline of the Catholic Church slowly come to a demise. Unless
yeah.
they do something radical to change their perception and the view of the world, it's going to start to seem dated, unless Christians in those churches start to really embrace love of all people, they're going to start to seem dated, and
Yeah.
they're really slowly killing religion in the eyes of the world, if you ask me.
Yeah.
As long as there's the internet, as long as people have access to information, it's ruining their brand.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Well, on that note, let's not take it down a notch.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, Gary, thank you for doing this on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
know it's
Let's go have
early.
breakfast now.
Yeah. Well,
Yay.
enjoy breakfast.
Have some
Oh, yeah.
mimosas.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Safe
All right.
bet. Okay, guys.
Cool.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.
I love that episode.
I do too.
So thought-provoking.
Yeah, and I didn't want to ask about him sharing, but I was glad that he still shared the story because I think it's really important for people to hear that, it's not like a pass for people to be abusive to each other, but it's just more for others to hear that you can power through, you can become a stronger person.
Mm-hmm. And not let tradition ruin your life, because tradition really could have sent him spiraling into the church, honestly, where then he could have became a priest and, everything I said, find a woman just to make him feel like, because what happens is just like you're saying, some people get gay bash and they think that it's a sign from God that they need to change.
Right.
And then they get deeper into religion instead of realizing, no, this is an opportunity for you to really embrace who you are.
Or they just get scared.
Or that.
Because they don't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that must feel like to live through something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty scary. I mean, I've never been gay bashed physically. It's always been like verbal gay bashing, and that in of itself is a little intense. But to physically be harmed, I mean, honestly, it's almost like when I don't want to expose this person's life, but someone very close to me, was raped. And I'm always thinking about her because she's still single. She's never been in a relationship. And I wonder how much that has affected her, because there's and in her mind, she has all these ideas of traditions that she wants to uphold. And I'm like, how is that affecting her after that happened? Like, are you still able to love openly? I don't know. It's scary. It's so
You
scary.
have to heal from something like that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fear, especially for women. Men don't often understand. They just don't get the fact that in a split second, we can be overpowered by a man.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to be a big guy. You're just naturally genetically stronger.
Mhm.
You just are. You're taller than us for the most part usually, and you're stronger than us. And so we have to think about that every single time we leave our house,
Mhm.
that I could potentially be raped or sexually assaulted, because in a split second, if a man decides that he just wants to take whatever he thinks he's owed, because that's usually how it works.
Yeah, which is like a tradition
Right.
that are taught to boys.
That, that's it. That
Mhm.
there's nothing we can do about it, and it's just I've been interviewing sex therapists for our next season, because you know how we talked about doing seasons that were themed, and we were talking about doing a sex one, which I wanted to talk about with you during our planning session of moving the sex one up into season 2, because I've been talking to all these sex therapists that I've been introduced to lately, and talking about dating and, healing from any kind of sexual assault and how that really affects relationships. And if you don't do the work to heal yourself,
Mhm.
then you're not going to be able to have a healthy relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
I
going to
was
have a
saying
lot
to
of fear.
Yep. And I was saying to my sister yesterday that it takes courage to be happy. Like people think that like I believe in depression. I believe that people can be mentally imbalanced in some way, shape, or form, but it takes effort to actually be happy, to be yourself, to put yourself out there. It takes effort and people don't realize. They think people just wake up and are magically happy every day. No, they make an active choice to be happy. And then with that active choice, they're choosing things in their day that adds to that. So it's a compounding effect. For some weird reason, people think, oh, she's just naturally happy. No, she's making better choices, or he's making better choices. And I feel like people who are like conditioned to think that certain things is what is going to make them happy, and they're not exploring out there. I bet you hear that.
What was that?
It's a helicopter. We live in like a
Oh,
helicopter highway. Or like
it
these
just
big
sounded like a
ass,
growl.
or it's not like these big military planes be like flying by every so often. But so a lot of young boys are like told and are expected to uphold these traditions, and they just don't make any sense. This plane just literally deterred my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
I could barely hear it too.
yeah, dang it.
Bummer.
Yeah,
But
but
yes, like, um, yeah, see, now I've lost where it sounded like a big helicopter.
but I like the idea of moving the sex up because that is a hot topic. I mean, to go from talk to dating to then sex and then maybe to relationships in season 3 would kind of
Hmm.
be like make sense. And then
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like that idea too. Of,
Especially we touched on it a little in this episode, the swinging thing. I know he didn't want to talk too much, but it is so like common now that it's almost I'm like no.
even with straight couples. I know couples that do it. I would love to bring them on. I don't know if they would do it though. Um,
But they're swingers.
but I would love to, yeah, bring them on and have them have a conversation, but they
Mhm.
might not. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a tough one, because a lot of times with like, they don't want their families to know, they don't even want all their friends to know that
Yeah, it's like
they don't
clouded
wanna
in
be judged.
shame, which is
Yeah.
weird. Whereas in a gay community, it's like, oh, you're swingers too. We're all swingers. Let's swing. Let's have an orgy, and everyone knows. Like their friends know that they're open and stuff. But with straight people, it's like, no, let's hide it. It's because
Yeah,
traditionally we're just supposed to be each other, and that's it. So let's push this under the carpet and act like it doesn't exist.
I know. It is such a shame, because like, the couple that I'm thinking of, they've really dialed into it to the point where like they've set rules around it, so they know what the expectations are from each other, and they've set really good boundaries and wonderful communication.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why it works for them. And they know that, this is the lifestyle that we can have. As soon as we decide to start having a family, this might have to change. So that's been talked about already. So there's no surprises. they've communicated everything. They know, like, okay, when we're going to do this, we have to have permission from each other and we have to talk to each other first. And it's made their relationship blossom, and it's just really beautiful. But most people aren't going to look at it that way. And so they
I
can't
know.
share that side with anyone. And it's
Mm.
just like, oh, that just sucks. That we're just
Because
so
it's
stuck.
authentically who they are. And if they could
Mhm.
just share that part without or even people who are into nudism, like it's not necessarily sexual, but they just like being naked outside. They have to hide. I mean, they don't hide it, but I do notice like some people are not overly expressive that they do
Right.
it. Like you kind of have to learn about it through casual conversations with the person, but it's not like they're displaying it. But it seems like all these little things around sexuality have shame in this country.
Hmm.
And it's creating like this inauthenticity in all of these relationships. And I feel like most relationships are freaking superficial at this point, you know?
They
It's
really
just
are, because, you're not being yourself in the relationship because
mhm,
you want to be in a relationship so desperately that you're
so
being
fucking
this
bad.
person that you think,
Yeah.
which is why a lot of these other dating coaches out there, and I like that some of them are starting to shift into just be your authentic self. But there's so many of them that are like, if you want to get the guy or you want to get the girl, do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so you have these people out there following this advice, doing these things, but it's not them.
Yeah.
So they're
Well,
trying to be someone they're not. And
mhm.
eventually in that relationship, they're going to fall back into their normal behavior. And then their partner's going to be like, what happened to that other person that you were?
Yeah.
Well, that's not really you.
Yeah. Like tomboys, or I don't know if that's politically incorrect. Girls that are just not into like femininity and makeup and all that shit, and they do it for the first. There's a video online, TikTok thing. I'm not on TikTok, but I've seen it where this girl, I think you may have sent it to me, I'm not sure, or Kevin sent it to me. This girl's on a date. She gets into her car. She has like her hair all done. She has like her eyelashes in. Her outfit looks really cute. She looks amazing to the standards of what American Beauty is.
Mhm.
5 seconds later, she said, "Okay, I just finished my date." Then she puts her hair up in a messy ponytail, puts on like her university sweatshirt. She rubs all her makeup off, and she's, "Ah, I could finally be me now." And I'm like, "You should have been you on the date." But that
Mhm.
was the point of the video that she was trying to make, like the pressures that girls have
Right.
on these dates. But then as soon as they get out of these dates, they back to being themselves. Which reminds me, yesterday or the day before, it always cracks you up, even when I used to be a waiter. I'm sorry. So weird when it's so weird when that happens. You get like a
Is that weird tickle thing? Oh my God, I hate that.
you're like, stop.
The only way I can ever get rid of that is if I like literally like almost hack it up.
Right? It's like so weird. Anyway,
Mhm.
so even when I used to be a waiter, these ladies were sitting next to us and they all were having salad. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God. I know they all want a fucking burger. And then one lady's like pushing it around on her plate, like, oh, this is kind of good. And I'm like, oh my God. I wish people just be themselves around each other.
Yeah, just
Like,
eat
what
what
is
you want to eat. And like if you're really feeling guilty over it, like just work out a little extra that day or
Mhm.
something, but don't deny yourself enjoyment.
Yeah, because you're worried about what someone is thinking. But I think people do that in their relationships too. They put up these airs because it's like, oh, this would make me look better in front of them. They won't be able to judge me for this. But it's stupid because you're just not being yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tough, I've worked with a lot of women where they are that all natural. They don't want to do their hair, they don't want to put on makeup, they barely want to get dressed up for a date. And so I always ask them, what level of man or partner are you looking for? Um, because if you are going to present yourself at a certain level, but you want someone who's at a higher level, then you need to be at that level as well. And I'm not saying you have to put on all of the makeup, you don't have to put a pound of makeup on, but you need to show some effort. So it may just mean put a little bit of makeup on just so that you look fresh, maybe a tiny little bit of blush, a little mascara, something, a little lipstick, whatever your thing is, but just put on a tiny bit so that, and make sure your hair is at least brushed. It can still look cute and very natural. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to straighten it. You don't have to curl it, but just make sure it looks presentable and make sure your outfit looks put together. Um, because if you aren't putting any effort in on a date, then you're telling them they don't have to put any effort in. And that's where you're starting. Your starting point is no effort. So it's going to be a little challenging, you know. And I've had friends like that. I had a friend here who she was like the all natural girl. But on dates, she put in the effort. She didn't get all dolled up. She still looked very natural and it was still very much her. But she threw on like a cute dress and, you know, she made sure her hair looked, you know, somewhat decent, and she put in just enough effort so that it showed that she tried, but she was still very much her.
Yeah.
She didn't go putting on fake eyelashes. She didn't put on a pound of makeup. She didn't do her hair all crazy because it wasn't her.
Yeah. I mean, there is something to be said about putting in effort and showing the person that you're seeing that I appreciate myself and I appreciate you taking the time out to be with me. Oh, me. Oh, I'm sorry. I appreciate when people shit, things keep happening. I lose my train of thought. But putting in the effort is good.
Mhm.
Like if you're on a date and the guy or the girl sees you, you're like, okay, they were. It almost shows that you were anticipating seeing them, so you put in the effort to try to impress. And you don't have to, like, just like you said, go above and beyond, but at least put a bow on yourself.
Right. Right. But don't wrap it.
Yeah, but don't wrap it. Yeah, put a bow, but don't wrap
Not a
it.
full package.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I get it. But you know, we have to just be authentically ourselves at the end of the day and just present ourselves as who we are, not
Absolutely.
as something else.
Absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
interesting because like when we talk about like how to dress for like a first date, you know, I've been putting out videos and social media posts about like the 3 C's of the first date
Hmm.
and how to keep it casual, comfortable, and still being cute. Um, and I talk a lot about like, don't throw on that super sexy boob dress that you have and full on makeup and full on hair. And this is the best that you can look for a first date because there's nowhere to go from there. There's nowhere to go up from there.
Yeah.
But in fairness, if that is your personality, though, that's how you dress every time you leave the house, then that's different.
Yeah.
And I don't talk about that, and I probably should have, but that is very different if that is your personality and that is just, I don't leave the house unless I'm dressed to the nines. Okay,
Mhm.
well, then you know what? In that case, that's very different.
Yeah.
But most people don't. Most people don't get that dressed up just to walk out the door.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yes, you need to leave that other person wanting to see more of you, to know more of you, to wonder, ooh, I wonder what they look like when they're all dressed up. You know, I
Mhm.
know I think that when I'm on a date with a guy, I'm like, what would he look like all dressed nice?
Like in a tuxedo and stuff or anything
Yeah,
like that.
nice suit
Hair
jacket.
combed back. Yeah. So I, you say casual, comfortable, and what's the third C?
Cute.
Cute. Because I've
Yes.
seen like some, I think like the really cute first date outfits I've seen on some females, and it could kind of go either way. It's like the little jeans and a cute little blazer with a little like t-shirt that shows just a tiny bit of cleavage. And on a guy, he can never go wrong with like a button up and some jeans. I don't think
That's
guys should
exactly what I say.
ever do fucking t-shirts on a first date. And people who do that, unless you're going to a beach setting or something, you're not supposed to, like, you're going to the gym. And I've been seeing in LA, athleisure is a thing. And
Hmm.
I don't know if honestly you should be showing off all your goodies on a first date, because a lot of the people that do wear athleisure are not wearing underwear. I notice, like, it's mind-boggling actually. Like we were at Rocco's yesterday, and a lot of like girls and guys, it's not just girls, but a lot of girls and guys wear like athleisure, and you could tell they're not wearing underwear. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is a thing in LA. Like, I can see her pussy lips. Like, legit. And it's like, okay. And then some of them are like on dates with people. I'm like, is this how people are going on dates and stuff? Like, people are legit like they're going to the gym. No
Right.
one's trying to impress each other. It's weird.
I know. And that was one of the things I kept saying was like, ladies, no yoga pants. No leggings. Leggings are not pants. Leggings are meant
Yeah.
to be worn under things. If you wear them under a skirt or under a dress, then fine. But they are not meant to be pants. And I know there are some skinny ass girls out there with rockin' bods that can pull them off as pants. Don't fucking wear them as
Yeah.
pants. That's
Yeah. I
not the
don't
point. Just because you can doesn't mean you have to.
exactly. I don't get
Unless
that.
you're going to yoga on a first date or you're doing a hike for a first date
Mhm.
or something that's active based,
Mhm.
then yes, absolutely you have to. But no, if you're meeting
No.
someone for lunch or for a drink or for
Mhm.
coffee or for dinner, leave the damn leggings at home.
Yeah. They're super sexual, and I don't understand why people don't see that. And I be seeing like girls who kind of seem like they're conservative wearing it because they're always tugging at something. That's another thing. People who wear
Mhm.
clothing that they're tugging at all the time. No, what is that about? It's like if you're not comfortable in the outfit, why wear it?
To be fair, um, so there's two parts to that. Women are kind of brought up thinking that I have to look good in it, but it may not be the most comfortable and it may move.
Uh,
Or their body, just not all clothing fits every body type, especially
mhm,
for women with how curvy we can be. I'm sure I can get busted constantly, like put my boobs back in my bra because they start to
mhm,
pop out sometimes
mhm,
because they're a little bit on the bigger side.
mhm,
And so if I have on like a shirt or a dress or something that's fitted on top and it looks good and I'm comfortable in it, but I may have to like notice, oh, I got a little muffin top coming out, or,
mhm,
I'm not at my thinnest right now because I've gained the pandemic 20. And so some of my clothes are a little tight fitted. And so I'm always yanking up on my pants to
mhm,
cover up the muffin top love handles.
mhm,
Like we're always tugging at something as women because our
mhm,
clothes don't just fit like they do for men.
mhm. Well,
You
most men's clothes are it's usually baggy a lot of times, unless you're gay and everything is fucking tight. But for the most part, everything is just baggy all the time. So men have it so easy in certain areas of life, like
Yes,
unreasonably easy.
yes.
Like like the whole thing with women's clothing, I'm learning don't have pockets. I thought that was a joke, but the girls like, no, legit. Like none of my fucking clothes have pockets. I'm like, how do you carry stuff? And then there's like this meme with this girl. She has like 80 things in her hand and she's able to hold it all. It's just women have evolved to the point where their hands can now hold like 16 things at one time because they just don't have pockets on their pants. It's so,
Because it's assumed we have purses, so everything can just go in the purse,
it's like
right?
another traditional assumption. Wow.
Yes, which is really annoying because I like to have pockets in my stuff. For one, I like to put my hands in my pockets.
Mm-hmm. Can't do
So,
that.
nope.
No pockets. Even like cargo pants sometimes don't have pockets on them.
Sometimes
Just
they're fake pockets.
oh my God.
That's the worst when they're fake pockets. I'm like, what? Why is this a thing? If you're
Yeah.
gonna make it look like it's a pocket, give me the damn pocket.
Yeah. I guess they don't want like that square because if men wear tight jeans, you
Bulge.
could see the bulge. Yeah. Everything's always about showing off the body. Jesus. I yesterday it was interesting. It's funny. I don't want to come off like I'm judging girls, but it's interesting the fashion choices. It seems like they take photographs and put it in everyday wear. Like I saw this one girl had on a really cute bikini. She looked great, but it's just like a photo shoot outfit. She had like a red, hot red bikini, like a thong type with like a oversized jean jacket running around. I'm just like, that can't possibly be fucking comfortable on a 75-degree weather day running around. I know it looks good. It looks like an IG post, yes, but that is not comfortable. It can't possibly be comfortable
That's all she was
running.
wearing.
That's all she's wearing. Walking around Main Street in Santa Monica. That's it. It looked like an Instagram outfit, but like
Wow.
yeah, that's it. And then another girl, you've seen the album for Janet Jackson's Janet album where she was topless. Okay, well, there's this thing where girls like to wear jeans where it's unzipped and it's kind of
Mhm.
folded down.
Yes.
and it's very sexy. It
Mhm.
does look hot, but I'm like, how do you? It's almost like with guys. I was on an airplane. All these you could tell they're from like urban settings, were wearing like their asses out of their jeans and their pants were like halfway down to their knees. And I'm like looking right through to their balls, because it's out. I'm just like, how do people wear these things
I
and think
know.
that it's sexy and think that it's attracting people? It looks good in a photo, it looks good in a movie, it looks good from afar, but it never looks good up close. And it just seems extremely uncomfortable.
When I first started coaching, a big part of my business was doing makeovers. And it was usually the men that wanted it. And it was a
Hmm.
huge part. And so for all of my local clients, I would take them out shopping and show them how to dress. And I can guarantee you, and I would tell them all too, you're in a size too big in your pants. No, no, they're comfortable. You're in a size too big. Trust me. And I had a few local shops here that got used to seeing me and they were like, yep, here we go. Andrea's coming in. We
Mm.
know it's going to happen. And every single time it was, you need to go down a size in the waist and you need to go up a little bit in the length
Mm.
because you're wearing pants that are too short. So that's why you want them bigger so that they're long enough. So instead, and then these guys were like, damn, I got an ass. And I'm like, you have a very nice ass. You should
Mhm.
be showing off that ass. They don't have to be skin tight, but tight enough to show off the goodies.
Yeah. Yeah. Have a lot of straight men been shy about showing off their butt? Because we have a mutual friend and he gets very shy when women notice his butt. And I'm like, what's that about? I mean, if you have a nice butt, you have a nice butt. So what, some women like ass. What's wrong with that? But I've noticed straight guys are a little bit shyer
Mhm.
about showing either their frontal genitalia or the behinds. Whereas gay men, we're like, you're gonna see it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna wear a cock ring so you can see it even more. But did you find that a lot of the guys you were helping were shy about showing off their body?
Yeah, so a few of them were just like, "Oh my gosh, they're so tight." And they're not too tight. They don't look too tight. And why are you so worried about how tight they are? Why do they have to be so loose?
Hmm.
I'm sure you're very nicely hung, but come on now. Like,
Yeah, it's like you get over yourself.
yeah. So a little bit of I think is that, getting used to that, but that also means being in the right size underwear as well. But
Mhm.
I think for some of the guys, it's I don't want to be seen as gay because I'm in tighter pants,
Oh.
which
There's
is
this weird fear of being seen as gay. It's like if you're not gay, you're not gay. And if you're afraid of being seen as gay, are you gay?
right. Like, who
Uh,
cares?
yeah.
I've never even thought about like whether or not women think I'm a lesbian or not. Like, it's cool. I'll correct you that I'm not, but like I've had a lot of lesbian friends and like
Uh-huh.
they give me compliments and I love it. It's still a compliment. Doesn't matter who it comes from.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean like it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't
It
mean
doesn't.
even if she is like, God, I would love my opportunity with you. It's like, well, that's nice, but you're not gonna get one. It's just
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean like I don't take it as like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm really a lesbian. Who cares? Even if I
Yeah.
am, who cares?
Wow. It just shows the levels of conditioning that's out there. If you're
Mhm.
dealing with and if that's their fear, it's like I mean, who doesn't appreciate a nice looking person at the end of the day? If you're walking around looking sloppy, that should be the problem, but they rather look sloppy than look gay. That's insane. It just
They think
shows,
it makes them look manly. It's like, no, no, no. That's not how this works.
oh, sloppy equal. Yeah, that is kind of true. I do see how a lot of some straight guys think that the sloppier they are, and some women actually, no, not women, people who are into that,
Mhm.
whether men, they like that for some weird reason. Like, oh yeah, he's so manly, he's a pig. I'm like, how does that equal that? Like,
It's
w-
gross.
it's fucking gross. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, something as simple as moisturizer. Most straight guys don't even wear moisturizer, and that's just protect their fucking skin. Oh, I don't want people to think I'm gay. I'm like, because you have nice skin? Like,
Right.
it's these weird traditions that people have conditioned in themselves. It's
I
yikes.
know.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to this next season. If we're gonna like switch up the like topics a little and focus more on sex, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So when
Mm.
we do our planning session, I have so many notes for us to go over and
Okay.
to talk about and to think about. And like, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I know we're not done with this season yet, but
Yeah.
still.
I like the excitement.
Yeah.
As far as next Sunday, because I noticed that Bill never responded when we were talking about setting up a date and time to chat, and kind of just ghosted on that question. So, um, did you want to record a solo episode this week?
We could. Let me double check to see if I have Joan on the schedule for Sunday
Okay.
talking about when to leave.
Okay.
So let me see if she is still down for it. Otherwise, yeah, we'll just do a solo.
Okay. Cool.
But
Perfect. All right. You want to do a planning meeting this week?
yes.
So should we do our usual time? It's been like 3 o'clock on a Tuesday the last few times, right? 3 or 4.
Yeah, let me just wait. Today's yeah, okay. I have some trying to get new clients. So I got a couple of discovery calls set up for this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So what did you say 3 on Tuesday?
Yeah, let's do that.
Which one?
2.
Okay.
I think, yeah, because on that day I have a a headshot session in the morning. And I think that, let me see the time for that.
Is that enough time?
Oh, 10 a.m. Yeah, that's enough time. 2 is perfect because he
Okay.
lives close to here. Perfecto. So I will be seeing you Tuesday at 2. That sounds
Yay.
fun. Tuesday at 2. Huh. Yeah.
Oh, why did I put it in the wrong day? Go over there. There we go. Weird. Sweet.
Yeah. Well, thank you for dealing with me today with my mild hangover.
I feel ya. We've all been there.
Yeah.
As soon as this one's done processing, I'll put it up in the drive. I signed up for the drive. Signed up for the additional space in the drive because we were like, these episodes are huge now as
Mm.
far as like being a like gigabyte each.
Well, once I upload it to Patreon, you can delete them because now it's somewhere.
I
It's up
think
to you. I mean, it's always better to have your archives at the end of the day because you never know.
right. And we never know when we might need to use them for something. You know, we
Mhm.
can always pull other clips from them. So I definitely want them somewhere. So I figured, you know what, we'll just put them in the Google Drive. And now I think we have like, I don't know, 500 gigabytes or something. So I'm not worried.
That's not bad. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. And when we get to a certain point when we definitely don't want them, I'll just drop them into like an actual drive somewhere and just
Mhm.
archive them. But for right now, who knows when, we're using them.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Cool.
Well, I will see you on Tuesday.
Sounds
Yeah.
good. Have a
All right.
wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Enjoy the slow weather.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.